Alright, let's shoot this fucker.
Right? Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Our 3 Cents. Jonathan?
Michael. And we're sorry we're a week behind. Our schedule was kind of messed up this past week, so.
Yeah, we had a lot of stuff going on, and we didn't want to rush it because we kind of wanted to do this one right.
Yep.
So, this week we took a look at Ed Wood. Don't know if you can actually see that or not.
And no, your computer monitor is not all jacked up. We are shooting this in black and white as a nod to the black and white film of Ed Wood.
Yep.
I don't know what to think about this movie. The movie ended, I was just like, okay.
You had never seen this one before.
No, I'd never seen it.
I saw this a long time ago, like not very long after it came out. Somebody made me watch it because he was a big fan of the old schlock sci-fi movies of Ed Wood and others. So, and I loved it. This was actually one of my very, very early introductions to Johnny Depp. So, besides, What's Eating Over Grape. But I loved it. I thought it was awful and terrible, but it was made that way because it was about a director who was awful and terrible and made bad movies. So,
I'm not so much sure if I like this movie or not. I thought it was kind of boring, personally. But one of the things that I can appreciate about it is something I may break up a little later is just what the person of Ed Wood had to go through, and I'll talk about that a little bit later too. So, Ed Wood, it's basically the story of how he shot his first 3 films.
yeah.
One of which I don't think ever premiered unless we lived in, Missouri, Alabama, and
Illinois. Which I would love to see. Love to see that film.
Yes. And then we had, which was Glenn or Glenda, Glenda. And then his second film, which was Bride of the Atom. And then his third film, which was Bride of the Monster, which was later renamed to Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Bride of the Atom was renamed Bride of the Monster.
That's right, Bride.
Yeah.
Bride. Yeah, I just watched this movie like 10 minutes ago, and I've already forgotten this timeline.
Plan 9 from Outer Space was the movie that he was most well known for. And it's the movie that everybody... It's a movie that nowadays a lot of people know what it is, but they have no idea what it's about or that it was by this guy. They just know that it's this terrible sci-fi movie.
And actually, I think it's... I don't recall, but I think when I went on vacation to Disney World, there is a sci-fi theater restaurant that you sit in a giant, basically just a giant drive-in movie, and I think, if I remember correctly, I'll have to go back and look at the pictures I took of it. They were actually playing clips of that movie in there.
Really?
Yes. You sit in these cars that are the table, and then you watch terrible B movies while you eat your food. And I think, if I recall correctly, that was one of the movies that was playing.
I would never leave that place. My gosh, that sounds awesome.
The cast.
Yeah.
Really, really eclectic group of people. Obviously, Johnny Depp.
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Which was hilarious when they had the reviews. Like, does my face really look like a horse?
Yes.
We died
laughing. That was so
at that.
funny. Oh my gosh.
We got Patricia Arquette, Bill Murray, Really awesome. Bill Murray. Had I known Bill Murray was in this, I would have watched this years ago. George the Animal Steel. If you're a wrestling fan, you know who that is.
Yes.
And who else was there besides the other big name?
The guy from Doogie Howser that I don't know if anybody actually knows who his name is.
He played Max in Doogie Howser.
Yeah.
And, well...
Martin Landau.
Martin Landau.
Yes. The great Martin Landau playing Bela Lugosi. Match made in heaven.
Yeah.
And actually, Bela Lugosi Jr. for a long time refused to see this movie because he didn't want to see anybody playing his father and playing him in a bad light, because this deals with some of the stuff from Bela Lugosi's later life where he was having some major issues. But Bela Lugosi Jr. finally sat down and watched this, and afterward he actually became very good friends with Martin Landau, because he thought that he played him in a very respectful and honest light. So that's a huge sign of respect.
As we were watching this, I was thinking to myself, how much, is this like actual true of what's going on, or is this a Hollywoodized biopic?
Well, dealing with the Bela Lugosi part, some of that is true. He did have a lot of struggles later in his life, but I'm sure that it was fictionalized and Hollywoodized, some of it, but he did have some struggles and some addiction problems, and for a long time, and so, like the line that Martin Landau has where he says, "I passed up on the role of Frankenstein." That was true. They did offer Bela Lugosi the role of Frankenstein.
That's well known, though.
Yeah, and he had a lot of resentment towards Karloff, because once Frankenstein came out, people kind of forgot about Bela Lugosi for a while, and by the time he came back, he was doing movies with Karloff. But Lugosi is Lugosi. He's Dracula, period. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of animosity between the two of them, even though they worked together well.
Well, big stars like that in competing roles of the same genre type, yeah.
It doesn't happen anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much now, but back then, that must have been huge.
We have to think that Hollywood was just getting started, so.
Yeah, very true.
This movie actually was the winner of 2 Academy Awards. Believe it or not. Tim Burton actually had a movie that was Academy Award winner. Martin Landau for Best Actor in a Supporting Role. And I can't read this, I'm sorry. Rick Baker, Neil, Yolanda Tressling for Best Makeup. And if you look at Bill Murray, you can see why that's some great makeup jobs.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, Bill Murray plays somebody who wants to have a sex change in this movie.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Pretty awesome.
It is as awesome as it sounds.
And anything that Bill Murray in is awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But Martin Landau definitely deserved that award. He was amazing.
Oh yeah, he did. He was the highlight of this film.
Oh yeah, very much so.
You mean, say what you will about, it's a Tim Burton film and Johnny Depp is in it and blah 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 blah. Obviously without Johnny Depp we wouldn't have the movie because he played the title character of Ed Wood, but Martin Landau was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He was great in it.
He jumps back and forth so well between playing it very serious and very dramatic and then just chewing the scenery to pieces.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as the camera starts rolling and they're actually making the movie, he just starts chewing everything up.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
And then camera cuts and he's back to his depressed,
drug-addled state.
Exactly. Good good word for it.
But he wrestles an octopus in this movie, and that's awesome.
It's almost as good as the fight scene in The Lost Skeleton and Cadabra.
Almost.
Almost.
Very similar in a lot of ways, because it's one person wrestling with an inanimate object.
That can't move on its own.
Yes.
What else do I to say about it besides, I think overall it was a great movie. Not going to be one of my favorites. I hate to say that because I'm a huge Tim Burton fan and a huge Johnny Depp fan. But what I like most about it was what Ed Wood had to go through to get his movies made. Just the trickery that he had to use. And I hate to use such an urban term, but he hustled.
Oh yeah.
He was a hustler, for sure.
Lies, deceit. Basically, he used any means necessary to get funds and to keep the camera rolling.
Even if it means him and his entire cast being baptized into the Baptist church.
Yeah, that part was good.
Yes.
Or losing his girlfriend at one point.
Yeah.
Because he gave her part away.
And in that vein, he was kind of a dick.
He was.
But he was a visionary, and I think sometimes we forget that if you're so focused on doing something that you kind of forget about other people. And it's a lesson to be learned. Is don't forget those people that are important to you.
Yeah.
In
don't get so focused on what you're trying to do that you give up what you already have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it turned out all right for him.
Well, yeah, he lost Sarah Jessica Parker, but he gained Patricia Arquette. I'd say that's a win.
Yeah.
Just in my book. But
I was thinking more of the actual person, but
whatever.
Yeah. It was cheesy.
It was.
It was a little cheesy, but it had some really funny lines in it.
Oh gosh, yes. There's my favorite part of it is they're trying to make a costume decision for the lead actress, and so they go up to the cameraman, and remember, this whole movie is shot in black and white.
As was like the actual movies.
Yeah.
Actually shot in black and white.
Yeah. And so they hold up two dresses and ask the cameraman, which one do you like, the red or the green one? And he's like, well, I don't know. They're like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I don't know. I don't know. I'm colorblind. I can't tell the difference between the two. He's like, but I like the darker gray one. And it's just such a great little moment because we're watching this movie and we don't know which one is the red and the green one. And they're not saying.
Exactly.
The only real mention of color is the Angora sweater. The pink Angora sweater. By the way, Ed Wood was a transvestite. He liked to dress in women's clothing. Yeah. We forgot to throw that out because it's only slightly important in the film.
My favorite line is at the very beginning of the film. He's at this, production house, and he's trying to convince them that he needs to direct this movie, write and direct this movie, and he's actually asking the guy who owns it, so it would be the backer, says, well, do you have a script? And the backer goes, fuck no, we don't have a script, but we have a poster. It was awesome.
Yes.
I was like, yes, that was great. So I think overall, it's definitely worth a view.
Oh yeah.
If you haven't seen it by now, you're probably, and you're a Tim Burton fan, like me, you're probably a loser for not seeing it, like me. But now I have seen it, and so now I can talk about this film.
Yeah.
So
it's nowhere near my favorite Tim Burton movie, but I like it a lot. And one of the reasons why I like it is because it is so different and so weird, and it's a look at old school Hollywood. And I don't know how much of it is accurate, but I gotta think that probably a good amount of it is.
And there was a lot of references to old school Hollywood, like the Brown Derby, Musso and Frank's.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of the so many of the characters in it were actually everybody that's in this movie is actual people that was in old school Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Even Vampira, I mean, I knew about her. I've always known about her because, well, that little thing that was at the end, that was true. I remember reading about that when I started to become a fan of Elvira.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it for that sense, that it's that look at old school Hollywood and what it must have really been like. Plus it's hilarious to me. It's a very, very funny movie to me because it's almost not even trying to be a comedy, but it is.
And I think as like a budding filmmaker, it really gives you a sense of what it was like
back then
in the 50s.
Yeah.
So that's Ed Wood. Join us next week, hopefully next week, providing our schedule doesn't get all jacked up again, where we will start the first of a 3-part series.
Where we will maybe, you might hear us talk about some other Tim Burton movies. And
yes.
Let's just leave it at that.
Exactly.
So
thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're interested in our stuff. And thank you for watching.
Yep.
Blessed be.